Hello and welcome to AEF TV in association with Engerati, and I'm joined now by Paulinus from NamPower. Firstly, welcome. Thank you for making the time to be with us today. And one of the things that I'd like to explore with you is, what are the type of investment opportunities that that exists within Namibia, and just give us a sort of small overview of what's happening within the power sector in that country.
Yes, no, thank you very much for the opportunity. As you are well aware, there is a shortfall of power supply in the whole SADC region, and NamPower or Namibia is not an exception to that. Each and every country in the SADC region is now busy with a capital investment program to bring additional generation capacity online. In the case of Namibia, we have got a 17 billion rand investment program, involving the construction of different types of power stations, ranging from hydro, gas, and renewable energies.
And what's the outlook in terms of the power mix? I mean, power isn't one of those things that you do overnight, so you have to have a long-term plan about it. And can you share with us a little bit about, as much as you're aware, what is the sort of long-term outlook? How would you like to see the power mix within Namibia?
Yes. Yeah, what you need to understand is that there are no quick fixes when it comes to the creation of additional generation capacity. So for that purpose, we have come out with a short-term, medium-term, and long-term programs.
So explain a little bit about each of those stages. I'm quite interested to hear how you're going to do it short-term.
Short-term basically involves the control and management of the load, basically to suppress the load, and normally we use the concept of demand-side management. For example, we have embarked upon the process of procurement and free installation of LED bulbs, replacing conventional bulbs with bulbs that are less energy intensive. Basically, with that, you will suppress the use of electricity. The other program, demand-side management program, is, for example, the installation of solar water heaters. Instead of using conventional water heaters, which consumes a lot of electricity, you warm your water basically with solar, with sun energy.
And when you've done your projections, those two programs and maybe a few others, what effect are you hoping that they're going to have on your load?
There is going to be a load saving of about 60 megawatts.
Right.
Just through the introduction of those two programs.
And the LED bulbs, that's fine. You can give those away. Solar water heaters, they're a bit more expensive. You probably can't give those away. So how are you constructing the sort of finance models around that?
You see, it's correct. Yeah. These are very expensive devices. You can't give it for free. But what we are doing is we give incentives to willing buyers, those with the capability to do so, and those who realize a benefit, a saving from participating in the program. What we normally do through this program is to provide a subsidy of between 15 and 20% of the total cost of the installation. And I know there are many Namibians who are really willing to participate and benefit from that subsidy. But I also know that the banks, they are knocking on the doors. They want to finance such a program.
So there are two incentives. One is to reduce your energy bills over time, and the other one is you're subsidizing it as well. So we've walked through the short term. Can you sort of give us an idea of the medium term plan?
The medium term involves more the import. We know there are countries in the SADC region which are in a surplus situation. Currently, for example, a country like Mozambique, they've got a lot of gas, they've got more surplus, which they can share actually with the region. There are also countries with a surplus, especially during certain times of the day, for example, during off-peak. These are the types of programs we are looking at, importing energy from the region during the times of the day when those countries are in a surplus. But of course, that will require also the availability of the transmission. Stable.
I was going to come on to that because
Yes.
it's one of those things that have been kind of coming up all through the interviews as well. It's just like people are saying, oh, well, it's fantastic that we're building these plants and we're generating the power, but how do you evacuate it? How do you get it to places where it needs to go? If we can segue a little bit towards to the transmission side of things, you know, how what's that looking like? How's the outlook for that?
No, the outlook looks good. For example, in the SADC region, we are working through a SAPP, Southern African Power Pool, where transmission integration has been adopted as one of the priorities for the region. This does not make any sense to build power stations without considering, you know, transmission of that electricity.
Yeah.
So in the region, we have managed actually to bring interconnectors, a number of interconnectors in place. For example, we got the central corridor, the high voltage transmission line linking Zimbabwe, Botswana and South Africa, and also through Namibia. At the present moment, we are busy with the planning and implementation of the so-called Zabona interconnector, involving the construction of the line from Zimbabwe through Zambia and Botswana to Namibia. So when you remember about 3 to 4 years ago, Namibia completed a high voltage DC link, linking the northwestern part of the country with central. So basically for the purpose of wheeling electricity from the north through Namibia also to South Africa. So I think those interconnectors are there. And the good thing is also that Namibia is already well connected with South Africa. So wheeling of electricity, I think, is definitely not a problem, especially with those interconnectors in place.
And then, you know, if we can continue our walkthrough, so we've done short, we've done medium, what's the long term?
The long term is now these big capital projects like Kudu, gas, the flagship national project in Namibia, and also the Baines hydro power project on the border between Angola and Namibia. Those are the big projects we are implementing in Namibia, but unfortunately, these projects are big and they take a lot of time to plan and to implement.
Yeah, I mean, people sat in this chair talking about 10-year time scales and things like that. You know, one of the other questions I wanted to probe is, and people have been sort of saying this as well, is, you know, what is your outlook in terms of, you know, you mentioned the interconnectors, is the blend between reliance on power that isn't yours, so not within the country, as opposed to power that is within the country, you know, so this goes back to the energy security question, you know, this is like how far do you think you need to push in terms of, you know, having all of the power that Namibia needs generated within Namibia, or are you quite relaxed about having, you know, a reliance on your neighbors, as it were?
You know, that's why we have got you know, the regional bloc, SADC. And of course, under SADC as a political body, we have got the SAPP. You know, this is our energy trading forum, where utilities normally come together, plan, and make sure that we harmonize our plans, and also funding them, you know, collectively when necessary, when it comes to projects which benefit the region. So yeah, we have run away from that concept of self-sufficiency. So that is an old concept. So we are rather supporting the concept of interdependence,
So you're taking a regional view, because obviously there may be areas where it makes more sense to have hydro, and other areas where and so on. So just as we're kind of coming to the end of our time here, and in the studio as well, one of the things, again, we are at AEF. The mics may be picking out some of the background noise and so on. What I'd like to ask you is, what are some of the conversations that you have had, or talks that you've seen that give you encouragement, and then, or indeed maybe you're hearing things and you're like going, I can't believe we're still hearing that. I can't believe we're still talking about this.
No, we learn a lot actually through these conferences. Yeah, apart from the presentations and discussions in the conference room, there's also a lot of networking taking place, and also looking at different types of technologies. There is an exhibition where different products are being portrayed. It is really an opportunity to learn many things.
So let me pick up on the technology piece. Are there any technologies that you're looking at in particular, and are there any sort of technologies that you're particularly excited about, which may be early stage technologies now, but you're like, that has got real potential, and I hope it matures a little bit faster, because people have been talking about solar in particular, where they're almost saying, oh, it's reaching grid parity, and some commentators are saying, no, it's nowhere near. What's your view?
No, specifically renewables, because I see renewable as a future, not only in the world but also in Namibia. And Namibia have already gone an extra mile in promoting the use of renewable source of energy, and I know the technology is getting more and more mature and even getting cheaper. So one of the issues I'm really interested in during this conference is really looking at different types of renewable technology, not only solar, but also wind and biomass.
And again, a final question to you before we wrap up. There's been a lot of talk around people saying that, okay, what is going to happen in Africa? What would be the ideal way is that rather we'll have a blended, distributed grid, and we're happy to have off-grid power and microgrids and things like that. Yeah, can I just have your view on that? Do you think that is true, or do you think actually this more, what we have in the UK, for example, this more, central network is the right way to go?
Yes, I think you need the right mix. In the case of Namibia, our energy white paper is very clear that you need a blend of mix of different types of resources. So you need a combination of conventional. When I'm talking of conventional, I only don't talk of hydro or gas. I talk about the combination of hydro, gas, coal, and whatever we have got. But then you also need a mix of renewable as part of your mix. And when I talk of renewables, I only don't talk about solar. I mean solar together with wind and biogas and so forth, but also a little bit of imports. You need that type of mix to enable you to be sustainable.
So you're pursuing a sort of blended energy strategy. Again, my words,
yes,
on that side of things. Yes. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much for taking the time. And thank you as well for watching. This has been another interview for AEF TV in association with Engerati. Thanks again.